Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome to the new era of Going In Raw Matt Chat. We decided we owed it to the friendos on the Patreon sending in their questions to get some actual expertise on this show and not just a couple of clowns. And I can't think of a better person to invite for the very first episode of this special Matt Chat than Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It feels good to be the first guest here on Matt Chat, although I think you're kind of overshooting here when you refer to me as expertise, because I am the expert of nothing, really, but I'm happy to be here.
Aren't you like a two-time Quizlemania winner or just like a one-time Quizlemania winner?
Yeah, I was a one-time. I came in like a meteor, like a flash of light, and then I immediately, just totally washed out. But, at least I had that week to enjoy it.
We started as washout. So you have the advantage there on us. So using that, you are an expert.
Exactly. So as you know, as the people know, we get these questions directly from our patrons over at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. And this is a monthly show we do. And next month, hopefully we'll have another guest because I don't think we've burned too many bridges in this industry quite yet. So we'll get into it. Larson, who's our first question?
First question comes from Jacksonville's.
Number one.
Caught you at a bad time. Guion, Take it away, Guion.
What's going on, friendos? This is the king of the friend zone, Guion Halili, back with another Matt Chat question. This month, what I want to know is simple. When will WWE have a jump the shark moment with these cinematic matches? And how soon will the fan base turn on them? That's all I got. Try to keep it topical. Y'all stay safe out there and wear a mask, people. Let's just all wear masks. Keep each other safe. Remember, like the friendo code, just be cool. All right, later, guys.
Thank you, Guion Halili.
Thank you, Guion.
Brian, what do you say? Is WWE going to jump the shark with these cinematic matches?
I think so. There's people who could argue it's already jumped the shark about 5 times over. I'm not one of those people, but I think if it counts as cinematic, I would almost say the Street Profits Viking Raiders thing we saw at Backlash is that to me was jumping the shark. I think because it was presented like this backstage, like it's the real world, it's like the WWE controlled world, and then they would cut to flashbacks and just do these other wacky things. And I don't know, I just did not like how that whole segment went down, and so that counts as cinematic. I guess that, and I know that some people think that the swamp fight was also a case of jumping the shark, or I guess in that case it'd be the alligator. So those are kind of my 2 picks.
Who's next? Am I next?
You are.
You next?
You are.
I'm next.
You are,
oh, yay, me next. I don't disagree with anything you said. I thought that the Street Profits Viking Raiders was I would consider that a cinematic. You're right, though. It's funny that we're getting this new language of WWE presentation. Because you mentioned like it's presented in the WWE's real world, which is like their standard backstage cameras. It was just a really elongated like setup version of that, as opposed to when they use like a different frame rate and a fancier camera, like in the swamp match. I'm gonna say this. I think that like number one, I feel like for me by far the worst cinematic match so far has been Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream in NXT, and I think. There's a couple things. I think, number one, if they really start to understand that these things have to be motivated by the story and not just, oh, well, a regular match won't cut it. We have to go out to the parking lot or to Full Sail's backlot. If they start to understand that and start to understand what works and what doesn't work. The complaints that I saw about the swamp match was like the ambiguous finish, which was more like a horror movie, like a Friday the 13th. It was like an homage to Friday the 13th. And a lot of people were like crapping on that because it's like, it's also supposed to be a wrestling match. Like this is a wrestling show. Wrestling matches are supposed to have like finishes. And when they don't, it just feels empty. I think, and there was like also a lot of talking with Bray Wyatt in that. Like he sat Braun down and lectured him for like 10 minutes.
It was a swamp chat. It was the swamp chat.
It was swamp chat, exactly. So like, I think as long as they continue to learn what works and what doesn't work and apply that going forward, I have a hard time believing that any of these are gonna finally like be the one, because jumping the shark is kind of that point where, okay, this just sucks now and it perpetually sucks. But just like with wrestling, when there's like a really bad match, the next time there's a really good match, people maybe they don't forget about the bad match, but all is forgiven. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, wow, what have you done for me lately? And I think as long as, if the WWE is going to add this to like their language of storytelling, of their presentation, as long as they continue to evolve the cinematic match, and that means, and this is going to be sort of in a different question later on, it involves bringing in new voices to direct and produce these cinematic matches. As long as you keep that aspect of it fresh, so we don't get the current language doesn't get stale, then I think I don't think it's going to jump the shark. I think it's going to be another way to tell stories.
My turn, yeah.
Yes.
Agree with everything so far. I will say there is a variable in play that could lead to these cinematic matches jumping the shark at basically any moment, and that's the input from Vincent Kennedy McMahon. If he gets an idea in his head that he has to have in there, someone get farted on, snow cones, whatever, that's going to take these cinematic matches from potentially uneven at times, because we've seen a few that were nearing duds. Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream in NXT. It was a brawl that they made a cinematic match for some reason. I'm not sure why. Brian, you mentioned the Street Profits and Viking Raiders. That was pretty slapdash, really all over the place. It seemed unfocused. It was like basically any idea they want to do, they just put in there, regardless if it made sense in the larger story they were telling.
And it was like long. It was
I still
so
get the
long.
alligator. Why was there an alligator in the dumpster?
It was such a long thing.
I know. And then the swamp match was ponderous, overly talky, and I understand essentially the swamp match was act 2 of the larger story they're telling between Braun and Bray, and I understand that. But when you're promising a fight, I don't know. I understand why some people would feel like the somewhat ambiguous ending would be frustrating, because they're promised a fight, and when there's a fight in wrestling, usually there's someone you can say they definitely won. Yeah, I know the Fiend rose from the boiling red water, and Braun didn't. He probably did win. I guess he did. Whatever. We'll settle it at SummerSlam. Anyways, but if Vince gets an idea and decides, all right, I'm gonna take the reins on this particular cinematic match, and it's like he's writing the dialogue, and it's like those Roman promos from a few years ago where he's saying "suffered succotash," then you're getting to the point where several sharks will be jumped.
Yeah, if he decides, that's actually a really good point. If Vince decides to get hands-on with all of these, because it seems like when you look at the Boneyard match, like behind the scenes stuff and the Undertaker documentary stuff, like it feels like he's like, okay, you guys, Triple H, Borash, go off and do your thing. If Vince decides to be on the scene directing this stuff, number one, it could be absolutely fascinating. It could be so bad though.
It'd be hilarious if Vince tried to direct. I would love to see just for experiment, not like a permanent thing, but let's see what happens if he gets behind the wheel of one of these things. I want to see what Vince McMahon would do with a cinematic match. Like he had 100% control over.
Like what's going on inside of his head that's going to spill out onto the film.
Oh, it could be a whole lot of no good. Just a whole lot of no good.
Oh man! Continuing on with the theme of cinematic matches, Christopher Rappersod has a question. Let's see what Christopher has to say.
Hello, Steve and Larson. So my question is, what do you think is the next cinematic type match they're going to do? Since SummerSlam is coming up, I think what type of theme cinematic match they should do for SummerSlam? Should they do like a barbecue or maybe a beach fight? What do you guys think? Who should be in the match? What type of stipulation should the cinematic match be? Since we're going to be in SummerSlam and they're going to probably do a cinematic match. All right, guys, be safe out there. Let me know what you guys think.
Thank you, Christopher. All right, I'll go first on this one. The question, what's the next cinematic match WWE is going to do for SummerSlam? I have, I have one idea here. No, I have two. Number one, I kind of feel like, granted the Swamp match wasn't great. I also didn't think it was too bad. I feel like you got The Fiend. That's like the cinematic match is his thing. So I kind of feel like The Fiend versus Braun should probably be another cinematic match, this time for the title. But more importantly that, I think that Bayley and Sasha, I think that their presence, their charisma, and their performance lately has been so good that as long as it's not the actual match between those two, maybe if it's like a tag match or something, I would love to see what they could do with their characters, the role models, in a cinematic environment. I think that could be a lot of fun, and I think I would want to push whatever match they're going to do between them if that's the case for like when there's actual fans around. But I would love to see those characters in a cinematic setting of some sort. I don't even know what it would be, but that would be my pick.
You're taking things much too seriously, Steve. This is what it needs to be. SummerSlam. Go to a beach in Central Florida somewhere.
Okay.
And you set it up like the Beach Blast 93, those little mini movies they did. Mm-hmm. The match is, so Randy Orton, he's out killing legends left and right. So he decides, I'm gonna aim for probably most superpowered legend in WWE right now, and that's Brock Lesnar. He wants his win back from SummerSlam 2016. He challenges Brock Lesnar, says, get off your farm, meet me at the beach somewhere in Central Florida, and we're going to have a fight. So this is what's going to happen. It's going to start on the beach. They're going to start fighting out towards the water.
Yeah, okay.
And then there's going to be a shark that swims up. Bang, F5 for the shark. They're going to keep fighting in the water. Somehow they're going to make their way on top of a surfboard. You see this brawl. So they're out in the middle of the ocean fighting on a surfboard. And then Randy Orton punts Lesnar on the surfboard. Lesnar falls in the water. That same sharky F5 comes, gulp, eats Brock Lesnar.
Wow.
Randy Orton wins.
Wow. And it's all sponsored by WWE Battlegrounds.
There you go. That's your cinematic match.
All right, Zane, you're up.
Well, I agree with what you said, Steve, about how Bray is kind of like, I think the cinematic world can kind of be his for a while. It seems to be right up his alley. We've seen him exhibit some range with it, with the Firefly Funhouse match and with this last Swamp fight and everything. And I like your idea of like Bayley and Sasha doing something. I'm open to the idea of like cinematic scenes, like maybe not so many matches or fights, but like pivotal storytelling segments, like out in the field somewhere. Like, oh no, a drug deal's gone bad, and now Bayley and Sasha have to confront their.
That's good. I like that.
Something like that. That's how we get the match at SummerSlam. So they're actually couriers.
I like that. That's good. Yeah, they're drug couriers. They do like a WWE version of Locked Up Abroad. I like that. That's really good.
So yeah, I think the Bray Braun is also a great possibility for that. But I'll tell you one thing: we are definitely getting like cinematic skits at SummerSlam. You know what sells tickets and drives up ratings? Skits. I want to see pool party, barbecue, hot dogs, ventilators, the works. We're gonna have like a bunch of funny cinematics and one serious cinematic at SummerSlam. That's kind of my prediction. But I would love to see. I'd love to see Hulk Hogan show up and do a walk on one of these, just walking. I've never been here before, and just like honestly, how hard would it be just to pay Kevin Sullivan a bunch of money to put some of the black paint on his forehead and have him recreate a Dungeon of Doom encounter, just like as a side gag in the middle of something else totally irrelevant going on?
I like it. I think, honestly, when I think wrestling and I think the beach, I think of Beach Blast, but I also just think of Hogan. Like, he just,
Thunder in Paradise.
Thunder in Paradise, exactly. I just think of Hogan when I think that. I think it'd be great. Integrate some Thunder in Paradise. Like, that'd be easy to get the rights to.
The boat just sails up. It's like, what's up, brother? Me and Jack Lemon's son, we're gonna fight crime.
Okay, so you mentioned the potential of doing skits, cinematic skits. Our next Matt Chatter, Church Jackson. He's a debuting Matt Chatter. He has a question kind of related to that. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey, Steve and Larson. It's Church Jackson here. Longtime friendo, first time Matt Chatter. I was thinking about, with the way the wrestling landscape is, do you think it would be a good idea for the WWE and AEW to reach out to the people that were in charge of Lucha Underground a few years ago and talk to them about doing cinematic matches? I was a big fan of the way that was handled, and I think that they can improve on a lot of the cinematic wrestling that's going on today. That's it. Too sweet. Hearty handshake. One sweet. Love. Have a good day. Peace out, friendos.
Thank you, Church. All right, Larson.
Thank you, Church.
The producers of Lucha Underground, should they be coerced to help out with these?
Well, they did. WWE did hire Chris DeJoseph back in December. He was one of the executive producers of Lucha Underground. He was just recently fired, I think about a month ago. I don't know if he worked at all on any of the cinematic matches that happened between his hiring and his subsequent departure from the company. I don't know. But they did hire one of the guys from Lucha Underground. I don't know how much he was involved, if any. So should AEW looking at that? I don't know. Kevin Sullivan, not the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan, production wizard
TV
Kevin
guy.
Sullivan.
Yeah.
Is under AEW's employee. He handles their production stuff for him. I thought the production aspects of the Stadium Stampede match was tons of fun. Some really clever production, I won't say tricks, but strategies and whatnot employed in that match.
He also did a lot of cool stuff for Impact when he was with them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So do they need to? No. Would it be a good idea if they want to go that route of going, as Brian said in the previous question, more kind of cinematic setups for matches as opposed to full-on cinematic matches? But I don't think it's an absolute essential thing that they need to do. Good idea, maybe. Maybe have some conversations, but do they really need to? No, I don't think so.
Brian, you're up.
Okay. See, I didn't realize that Chris DeJoseph was hired and refired. I must have missed that because I was about to say, yes, bring him because he has the experience in the company and he also is so integral to the success of Lucha Underground. But clearly that didn't work out. So, I mean, as far as I don't know, I'm open to the idea of bringing people in who aren't really in wrestling and maybe who work in, as much as we historically have kind of crafted the idea of Hollywood writers and everything being involved in wrestling. Well, now's the time for it, I think, to happen, because if we're going to be putting more emphasis on cinematics and shooting out in the field and relying more on actual acting with your voice and everything instead of fighting so much, then yeah, I think now's a good time to bring in some Hollywood writers who might know a thing or two, might follow WWE, might have some interesting perspectives. They have Jeremy Borash, who has experience with these kind of things, but he's just one man with one perspective. So I think it does need to be maybe do kind of a talent swap program where every other month or so you can swap Jeremy Borash with Kevin Sullivan at AEW, and they just try out. It's producer swap.
That's good. Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, now's the time to bring in some more Hollywood names. Maybe not for writing everything, but for having some kind of production expertise or perspective when they do go to the cinematic route.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that especially these days, look, man, you turn on Netflix, you turn on Amazon Prime, there is so much content out there that's really high quality stuff in the world of TV and streaming that I feel like it'd be kind of easy. I mentioned this in one of the earlier questions. Like you said, Jeremy Borash, he has his own filmmaking language. Like, we've seen it, we know it, we're comfortable with it. It's going to get to the point where you might want, like you said, other perspectives, other voices, other visionaries to carry out some of these skits. I don't know if they're going to do this because Vince likes to keep his guys around doing that stuff because he has control. And I'm not sure if any of these people coming from, the world of TV and streaming would be used to working with somebody like Vince McMahon, but Hollywood is its own weird beast, so maybe they would be. But I think it'd be an awesome idea to bring in people with a proven track record to do, a pay-per-view. Like, if you're going to have some cinematic skits, if the pay-per-views can be sort of thematically bound by a certain visual language, I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be really, really cool to bring in different visions to do that. So, like you said, they brought in a guy from Lucha Underground and evidently didn't use him, or they went ahead and fired him. But I went back just as a refresher and watched some of the cinematic stuff from Lucha Underground, and it's so well done. Like, it does have a very awesome cinematic feel. And with Borash, like I said, you know what you get. Like, there's nothing too showy or flashy. He's a decent storyteller, but sometimes you want a little bit more you want a little bit more flair. You want a little bit more flash to it. So and just a different way of telling stories. So yeah, I would definitely say, if not Lucha Underground, definitely expand your horizons, bring people in and produce this stuff, because I think it can add a lot to the product.
Yeah, give us WrestleMania directed by Werner Herzog, please.
Get a Rob Zombie to guest direct one of Bray Wyatt's next fights or something.
I would dig that. I would like that. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Next up, so of course there's the big storyline going on right now between Asuka and Sasha Banks over the Raw Women's title. So Seffi and Ron Armenta have a question about that. Let's see what they have to say.
Hi, Steve and Larson. This is Ron and
Seffi.
And Seffi has a Matt Chat question for you. Go ahead, Seffi. What's the Matt Chat question?
Do you think Asuka is gonna steal back her title that Bailey and Sasha took from her.
All right. Thanks a lot. And if it doesn't get stolen back, do they think they're going to do a tournament? And what is the outcome of that tournament or match going to be? Thanks a lot. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, Sephi and Ron.
Thank you.
Brian, what do you think? How's this going to play out?
I mean, I think I would have liked it if the decision stood, and for whatever reason, because Bailey wore the shirt, and like that's like, you know, it's binding. If the referee shirt, that's the ultimate hall pass. So let's have Sasha be this illegitimate champion, have Asuka kind of chase her for it, and then Kairi's gone, so now she's got to pursue, and it's a 2-on-1 thing. Where's she going to find friends? And then it culminates in Asuka maybe getting it back. I'd be open to that happening, but we're not getting that as it turns out, because they just announced on Monday that it's going to be next Monday. They're going to have a rematch and everything. So, I mean, it could go one of two ways. Either Sasha just wins the match outright and the heels win again, or against what my heart desires, I think it's going to be like Asuka will win after Bailey tries to interfere and it backfires, and that will get the ball rolling on what everyone's been wanting for like the last 3 years. That's like a singles program with these two. So we'll see. I like it's like, I don't mind the 2-woman power trip. Everyone, there's some people who just like, they're killing other ladies' pushes, and I don't know. We're in a pandemic, and booking is in a weird time now. I think people are a lot less forgiving about the way wrestling is right now, or WWE, in the wake of this pandemic, than they should. Okay, I feel like, I mean, I don't want to be like giving them free passes on everything, but I do think there's a lot of times where it's like, give these guys a break. They're working with like not as many people as they usually do, and so might be a little handcuffed.
Yeah, no, I actually I agree with that. I think that like for the longest time, I know being a big fan of Bailey, being a big fan of Sasha Banks, for the longest time I always give them all the titles. They have all the titles now, and honestly, I love it. I think it's great, and I think that they've been able to, like, you know, you see on the lower card in the women's division on Raw last night, for example, Raw this past Monday rather. Peyton Royce, Ruby Riott, Bianca Belair, they're all engaged in something. You got, granted, I know the Karaoke Showdown provided the motivation for one of the stories on SmackDown, but at least they're doing something without the title there. I don't think that, I think that I think they're making decent progress in other stories without the titles. And so I'm totally fine with them being a 2-woman power trip. I think it's great. I think they deserve it. I think that people a couple of years ago were saying, oh, they've buried Bailey, they buried Sasha. And it's like, well, look at them now. And they're doing great work. So I think it totally makes sense. I think it's great. I think you're right. I think probably what's going to happen is Bailey is going to end up screwing Sasha. I mean, Stephanie was very obvious when she was talking about the match. She said, by the way, Bailey, if you interfere, Sasha will lose. So that will almost guarantee that is going to be the scenario that plays out. I do wish that we could have had a bit bigger of a build for this, maybe a couple weeks, and maybe have Asuka trying to get the title back via social media, or, you know, maybe we could do some like extra videos on the side or something where she's like trying to, you know, chase after Sasha. I don't know. I really like this whole scenario, and I just want to see it play out a lot longer. But yeah, next week, that's fine. It should be a cool match.
Yeah, it should be. The only thing that kind of bothers me about this whole situation is Sasha didn't win the match, yet she still has the belt. That belt should be in Asuka's hands right now.
Yeah, but I mean, we sort of talked this in the Raw review. It's like, that's one of my problems with the idea that there's no authority figure in the ring to be like, hey, that should be with her right now.
Yeah.
It feels lawless.
I'm open to the stolen belt gimmick, but the problem is there's two of them happening on Raw right now. Because there's not only Sasha with the Raw Women's Championship, but also MVP has the U.S. title. It's not really his. So that's a bit of lazy booking. And also, it's like, I was kind of taken aback the fact they used Stephanie for that spot last night, but I'm like, well, who else would it be? There's no authority figure. That's kind of like, that's the problem when you've kind of made this promise, there's no more authority figures, is that then you have to figure out, how does this world police itself? Like, how are decisions made? It's all this like, oh, by the way, this was decided, and this match was made. Like, or the wrestlers just make the matches, and then we find out via commercial break, oh, this match has been made. Like, I think our problem was not with the existence of authority figures, it was the over reliance on them.
Yeah.
So as easy as it's kind of a cliche to say, go back to the days of Jack Tunney, who only came in extreme measures to do something. That would be a time to have an actual authority figure kind of on standby. And if that's Stephanie's role, then fine. I think it's like it's so rare to the point where it's like, oh, like this feels out of place.
Yeah, I actually think that especially now during the pandemic, when he's been forced to be available only via iPad, Regal's role in NXT, I think like everybody, it's basically sort of everybody does their thing, and then if anything goes overboard, Regal will step in. Like we saw that with Cameron Grimes attacking Damian Priest, and he's out there. Damian Priest like punches him in the jaw. Cameron Grimes is celebrating, and then they're like, hey, no, you have this match right now. You have to, or I think that was the Finn Balor thing. You have to go do this now. And so it's like they're still in check. Like there's still a system of checks and balances in the world of NXT because of Regal, and all it takes is the referee Drake showing up with an iPad. Hey, you can't do that.
I want to see GM Regal on like a robot. So have the iPad on like one of those robots, like one of those like hospital robots, and like just have
the
him
Boston Dynamic ones,
and just like have him bumping into things. Like, sorry,
excuse me,
or fit him into like a Dalek kind of a contraption,
or the thing that they had in remember Rocky IV when he was like super rich and he had that robot.
The robot.
Yeah, remember that.
Heck yeah, man!
Well, I got nothing more to add. You guys covered it. You covered everything fine. All right. I don't know why Oscar doesn't have her belt back. That's the thing. She should have the belt until the match next week.
Yeah.
Good point. I don't disagree with that. It'd be nice if she had it back. I mean, she tried. They sort of like ran after them, and then they ran away, and then Stephanie showed up.
So Stephanie's like, no. She keeps that belt, Oscar, for one more week. It's like, wait, why in that video address did she not say Oscar or Sasha? Give it back to her.
There's one more issue here. Where's HR when it comes to Bailey ripping a shirt off a guy? This is a referee. I mean, granted, he's Buff Daddy. Like, she straight up stripped a guy live on camera, live on air, and there was no repercussions for that.
Without his consent. It's
without his consent, exactly.
Terrible.
All right, next up, Patrick Sparks. Is this a text question or a video question?
It's video.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see Patrick Sparks.
Hey, friendos, Pat here. So we saw the Good Brothers, EC3, Eric Young, multiple other people return to Impact. Recently, we saw FTR go over to AEW. Now, my question is in 5 years, do we think that a lot of these people are still going to be with the respective companies that they chose to go work for? Did that choice of wherever they went, is it going to be beneficial for their careers? Is it going to give them the big boost that they need, or is it going to be detrimental? Who do you think is going to come out of it all the best? Who do you think is going to take some hard hits and sadly not be very good where they are? And yeah, thanks, friendos. Bye.
Thank you, Patrick Sparks. Of course, there's been a lot of God, it's hard to believe it's been 3 months since those releases. It was in April. That's crazy. So, and of course, all those no-compete clauses are dropping like flies right now. Pretty much everybody's out of those, I think, as of a couple days ago. We've already seen appearances in Impact. And have any of them actually gone to AEW yet? No, they haven't, huh? Okay, yeah.
Except maybe for Tino Sabatelli. I think he's the first one to cross the line.
That's right. He's supposed to be on Dark like tonight while we're filming this, huh? Yeah. So in 5 years, so hard to predict what's going to happen in 5 years. I think that there's, I wrote down like the bigger names here and what my predictions are for 5 years from now. I think number one, first and foremost, it kind of depends on if Vince McMahon is still in control of WWE 5 years from now. I think that might make somewhat of a difference with some of these names. First up, Eric Young. I think that he's probably going to be retired from entering competition in 5 years. He'll probably be, if Impact is still around, which if history is any indication, they will be. Eric Young's going to be helping to run Impact, maybe. EC3, I think he is going to be forever embittered by his experience in WWE. Maybe the fact that Triple H was running NXT while he actually was on TV in NXT. If Vince is gone and Triple H is in power, maybe he can convince him to come back. I think the Good Brothers, they'd go back if the money was there. I think that they understand. I mean, their whole thing is it's a business first. I have no reason to think that if the WWE offered him tons of money, they'd be like, okay, well, put a pumpkin on my head. I'm fine. Heath Slater would 100% go back. I don't think he probably ever will, because as soon as he showed up in Impact for Slammiversary, they like booked him as guy trying to get a contract again, and I just don't see much of a ceiling there. Rusev probably would, and he probably will go back. Zack Ryder will probably go back. Kurt Hawkins, I think, has a big opportunity here because I think that he's got a ton of charisma. He's got all the tools. If he can put together like a really good run somewhere else, I think maybe they'd bring him back, but he's also kind of on the older side. So there you go. Those are my thoughts.
All right. Will they all stay where they signed their contracts to currently? No. It's usually in wrestling doesn't work out that way. But getting away from WWE when you're not doing anything, the odds are pretty good it's going to benefit your career. Rather than sitting on the sidelines or wrestling on main event, not in the main event, on the show main event, you're not in front of a whole lot of eyeballs, if any. You're not making that sweet main event, the actual main event, not the show, money, and getting away from that. That kind of this kind of like be the common threads to this episode, the Kafka-esque nightmare of dealing with WB Creative and not being involved while they're paying you a ton of money, which getting paid a ton of money is pretty cool. That's got to be frustrating. Getting away from that, if you value interesting storylines, you value being involved over the financial aspect of it, getting away from WWE is probably the best thing you can do, even if you're going and working in the independents. Granted, you can't really do that now because no shows are happening. But down the line, when those return, if building up your own brand is of utmost importance, then going out and working shows and building up your own brand or rebuilding your own brand is what you're going to want to do. 5 years' time, Steve's pretty much right. Basically, everybody's door will be open to return to WWE if they want to. It'd be interesting to see after Gallows and Anderson's deals with Impact run out, if there's any interest from their former Bullet Club stablemates in AEW, whether they'd be willing to bring them in. I think it was Meltzer, right, that said that there was no contract offer put forth to them from All Elite.
Yeah.
In a couple of years' time, maybe that'll change. We don't know. But, wrestling's business. People are going to go where they think they can have the best opportunity for themselves, both financially and, if they value the creative aspect of it highly enough, where they can get paid a decent sum of money and be involved, do interesting stuff, and that's where they're going to go. And if it means they're going to stay in Impact for the duration of their careers, and so be it. And that's where they'll stay.
Yeah, I'm kind of echoing a lot of the sentiments from both you guys in this one. Like, it's a lot of deep thinking to think where all these people are going to be in 5 years. We don't even know, if, who knows if AEW or Impact will be around in 5 years.
Yeah.
Anything, It's so crazy to try and predict 1 year in the future, much less 5. In my
Disney presents WWE.
Yes, the land of wrestling tomorrow. And like what Larson said, it's like everyone's got different goals. So it's like, would it be beneficial to the career? Depends on what they want. Do they want money? Do they want just to feel like validated and valued in the company? Do they want to be champions all the time? Like, it just depends from person to person. As far as like the ones who are currently at new places now and official, I mean, of those guys, that crop, like say the people who showed up at Slammiversary this past weekend, I'd say EC3 or Carl Anderson has the biggest immediate upside. And then like as far as the people who have not been signed anywhere right now, I think Rusev, of all the people who got released, would have the biggest upside either in the indies or some other company. And like assuming things eventually ever get back to normal and like the indie wrestling bubble hasn't really burst, and people are allowed to run shows again, like the indies have proven it's a great place to like reinvent yourself and also get over. I think there's a lot of people there's a lot of people who I think could have really had breakout years this year had WrestleMania weekend gone off without a hitch. And like guys like Danhausen and Warhorse and all these guys with their kind of like boutique shows like had gotten over. I think that, and same with PCO reinvented himself in the indies. There's so many examples of guys doing good work in the indies and making it work out for them in a positive way, either with continued success and kind of defining their own terms, or if they get signed to WWE for more money, that's what they want.
Yeah, I agree with that. Our last video question before we do a couple of text questions comes to us from Dirty Rich, and he has an appropriately dirty question. Let's see what he has to say.
Friendos, Dirty Rich here with his Mad Chat question of the month. And let's be honest right now, wrestling sucks. It's hardly enjoyable to watch. And to be honest, for the first time in my life, I'm like weeks behind. The only reason I'm up to date is because watching Going in Raw. Hello. But we all know about a certain celebration that was on TV years ago between Edge and Lita. Who would you want to see do one of those celebrations present day?
Thank you, Dirty Rich. All right, Larson, who do you want to see have sex?
Well, it's a live sex celebration on WBTV, so they can't go that far with it, obviously. But so let's say Karrion Kross, he wins himself that NXT title. Doomsday is upon us. TikTok, fall and pray. There's this whole apocalyptic thing they got going for him. So rather than be like a full-on celebratory consummation of their love in celebration him winning a title, this is going to be like some sex magic thing, where they're going to try to bring forth like the literal end of at least NXT, maybe.
Okay,
they're going to really take this Doomsday apocalyptic thing like really literally.
Man, dude, you had a bunch of good ideas there that I think this would be a great collaboration. So number one, this sex celebration, it has to be like Eyes Wide Shut. So you have all the PC Performance Center recruits.
Fidelio.
They all have like the weird masks on and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And then she gets pregnant with like the Damien child from Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
It comes out and it's like a demon child, and it's played by Damian Priest.
There you go.
The baby is born already fully grown.
Exactly.
It becomes
the
destined NXT champion.
Yes.
It's the illegitimate son angle that Vince McMahon always wanted.
Yeah.
The illegitimate son coming back to claim the championship.
What a great idea. We just booked the perfect angle. Okay, Brian, what about you? Who do you want to see have sex?
Well, I can't top that, but I was going to say we're totally getting one for Angel Garza and Charlie Caruso. That is totally happening. It's the only logical explanation for all this. Or, to go back to my earlier joke, just get Hulk Hogan to walk back on. There's no Hulkamaniacs here. He just walks into the room and he starts dropping N-bombs and everything. And just...
Oh, no. Hulk. He sits down on a bed with like his buddy's wife.
He's all sweaty and shit. Oh, I'm out of shape, brother.
It's all downhill from there, man. So I've got 4 different ideas here. Check this out.
Oh man!
Of course.
Listen to this. Here we go, man. This is now it's my time to shine. Number 1, Otis and Mandy. Come on, and it's going to be revealed that of course Otis up to that moment was a virgin, and we get to see the very first time that he has the sex, and it's like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High. They've already referenced that, and it's like that. Next, again talking about Damian Priest. He used to hang out with like a bunch of women that he, for some reason, would claim as his own. But here's the thing, because half the time when Damian Priest delivers a promo, he's oddly sweaty, out of breath, he can't talk. He has a hard time getting erect because for some reason he got food poisoning. Cameron Grimes gave him food poisoning and catering, and he's like, he needs to shit his ass, and so he can't get it hard. Next, Cameron Grimes and a farm animal. Next, Randy Orton and his wife. Because if you've ever seen his Instagram, they're basically half the time almost about to do it or post-coital anyways. So let's just get it over with. Let's just see the man have sex with his wife on Instagram, and there you go. Could have come up with probably 8 more, too. We got some text questions here. First up from Jose Cruz. Says, I heard a version of this question on Wrestle Talk, so I thought I'd ask you guys and see what you friendos come up with. First live show with fans. Who do you guys book for the main event? Any wrestler from any promotion for fun. What other matches would you have? I don't have the order. Larson, who goes first here?
Brian goes first.
Brian, you're up.
Well, I mean, the way I see it, if we're playing Ultimate Fantasy Book, first live show with fans, I just say, just do NXT versus AEW Super Show and get it over with. Come on, all you stands. Just come out and kiss already because you're fighting so much over demos on Twitter. Here's your main event because it's all the main singles guys. It's triple threat: Keith Lee, Jon Moxley, Cody in a triple threat.
Oh.
Get your women's champions: Io Shirai and Hikaru Shida. That'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
If we're doing tag titles, I guess you've got Paige and Omega and Imperium, which okay. Undisputed Era in an 8-man tag. Undisputed Era versus Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers.
Ooh, wow.
Rhea Ripley versus Nyla Rose would be a good one. Robert Stone and Britt Baker in a debate. Nice. You have Breezango and Drake Maverick versus the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. and many more. Those are just some of the matches. A whole shitload of tag team matches basically would be on the table for this one. But those are just the first ones that came to my head if we were to go totally balls to the wall and just do a super show.
Man, that was much more ambitious than my answer. Larson, are you next or am I? I'm up. Well, yeah. I feel like shit now because Brian just killed this question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this.
I have 3 words written down here. So
I've got 3 words. Okay, so I'm just gonna say this. If it's just gonna be WWE, I just have WWE. I still kind of think that November is an optimistic outlook. Here's the problem with this. Is that there is not going to be one moment when just, there's a ton of fans here. It's going to be such a gradual thing because if Vince could have 100 people right now, he would bring in 100 people. And that's how it's going to go. It's going to be in stages. So first they're going to have half capacity at the Performance Center. Then it's going to be like, full capacity at the Performance Center. Then it's going to be like quarter capacity at like a 5,000 venue, 5,000 capacity venue. So it's going to be like little bits and pieces. But once we do get that big, giant celebratory moment, I think that you would probably, even if it can't be at Survivor Series, you would do a brand versus brand versus brand celebration. And in that case, I think you'd want your champions at that point to be Roman Reigns, Keith Lee, and Drew McIntyre. That's a triple threat I think a lot of people would be really into.
Yeah. What do I have here?
You said you have 3 words. This must be 3 amazing words.
I mean, it's pretty good. I got a couple other ones. These are the 3 matches I feel like would pop wrestling fans the most. This is just WWE. If you stack the card with these 3 matches, what I have written here is Sasha versus Bayley. They're going to have that match, a one-on-one match that has to be in front of fans.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be.
Yeah, true. I agree.
I feel like they need to do a Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar rematch in front of fans as well. And then while you're at it, give us, I know The Undertaker said he already has his last match. I don't believe that for a second. Give another crack at this retirement match, but have it in front of fans.
Okay.
And have it be like when an athlete announces before the season they're going to retire. Do it like that, and then people are just going to be like, just I don't know. They're going to be excited to be there witnessing Undertaker's last match. That's what you do, and it's Undertaker versus Kane. That's his last match. That's how it has to be.
Oh, does it though? Does it have to be that match
versus Kane? How about it's corporate Kane versus Mark Calloway?
There you go. Mayor Glenn Jacobs versus Mark Calloway.
There you go. Our next text question comes to us from Dan Barber. Wants to know, what are some wrestling moves or finishers you wish people would bring back?
You go first, Steve.
Okay. So here's the thing. I don't have a great answer for this because I feel like everybody already kind of. I'm kind of surprised that nobody just has a straight up power bomb as their finisher. Like it's either a sit down. Like I think Apollo Crews has a cool like sit down weird power bomb thing. Kevin Owens used to have the pop up, but he uses the stunner now. Just like a straight up like a Kevin Nash jackknife power bomb. You just throw somebody up and just hope that they land on their back. I wish somebody would bring that back. I'm actually surprised that bequeathing the pedigree to Seth Rollins didn't stick. Because although I love the stomp, I think the stomp is a much cooler move. Like the pedigree is that one move that like nobody has really tried to adopt. And I think that's kind of odd. So I'll just go with the pedigree. It was super, it's a crappy move, but it was like really super powerful. So I'll just go with the pedigree.
All right. I got 2. I know Damian Priest does a Razor's Edge, but someone's got to use that for a finish. That's such an awesome move.
It's a really good move.
A move that you don't see very often is Daniel Bryan's old finish, cattle mutilation. Mm-hmm. That move looks like legit painful. It looks like that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like that sucks to be in that move. I want to see that more often because I think it's great. That's all I got.
The one move I want to see come back in wrestling is just selling. Just better selling.
That's good. I like that. Next up, we have a text question from Luisa Reza. It says, hey, friendo, so you're getting 2 questions for the price of fun since I missed last month's. What events or things would be different? So this is question number 1. What events or things would be different if COVID never hit? And for his second question, who would be on your Mount Rushmore for the following promotions: ECW, NWA, TNA, and New Japan? So let's start off with the first question. What would be different if the pandemic never happened?
All right. Shayna would be Raw Women's Champion.
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident about that. That's first and foremost. I think that's probably the one booking decision that was Definitely most likely change due to having Mania at Performance Center because of pandemic. Apart from that, I don't really know if anything major would have really changed. I think, Drew still would have been champ. Well, Roman, he'd be champ now.
Yeah, that's what I have for my answer is just Roman probably be champion.
But yeah, I guess those two, Shayna and Roman, be champ. Otherwise, I don't know if a whole lot would change.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you say, Brian? Because that's kind of what I have too.
I think another one would have been, I don't think Otis would be Money in the Bank. That would not be what happened. And the Money in the Bank would not have been at the headquarters.
That's true.
And just all I can think about is WrestleMania weekend in Tampa. All my gigs. Oh God, I'm so mad I missed all my gigs.
Yeah, man, that sucks. That sucks.
And I only had a handful of them. I know there's a lot more things going on. And I think that's the biggest heartbreak of all. The thing I've missed the most, the thing I've lost that I've missed the most in this pandemic was that weekend. And how dangerously close my friends and I were to saying screw it and go to Tampa anyway. Because
wow.
Well, we were close because it was like, well, everything's gonna be canceled, but it's like, well, we're gonna be safe. It's gonna be all this Airbnb, and let's just film some content. Let's make it a big content run. And then eventually got to the point where it's like, no, beaches are closed. I'm like, well, what the hell are we gonna do in Tampa then if we can't have beaches and there's no restaurants available? So that was the final straw. But there was a few of us in our group. We were still kind of like, we're still going, right? We're still going to be doing this trip.
Man, it was totally heartbreaking to hear the stories. I think was it Sports Illustrated that did it? Like somebody did a write up on like just how bad the indie scene was hit, losing WrestleMania weekend or WrestleMania week, I guess. And that's just absolutely heartbreaking. That's so bad.
Yeah.
It was a real rough. It's been a real rough thing to get over, I guess. But I'm optimistic that those things will eventually happen.
Yeah, I agree. And then the second part of the question, who would be on the Mount Rushmore for the following promotions? Let's just take these one by one.
Did Larson get to answer his question one? Oh, you did?
Yeah. He started off, and I just piggybacked his. So, Mount Rushmore for ECW, what do you guys got?
Rob Van Dam.
Just 4 Rob Van Dams?
No, for ECW. I thought we were going promotion by promotion.
Sorry, yeah. So Larson, who's on your Mount Rushmore for ECW?
Total. So I have Rob Van Dam for ECW. I took the NWA after WCW split from it. That was
do all 4 for ECW. Oh, I have a Mount Rushmore for each promotion.
Oh, I have one Mount Rushmore for just the whole thing. I guess I misunderstood. So for ECW, RVD, Raven, Tommy Dreamer, and Surfer Sandman. If we do NWA after they split from WCW, that's what I had here. That is Dan Severn. He had that belt forever.
After they split. Oh my God. Okay. Do you have any?
4 Dan Severns. For TNA, it'd be AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe. Bob Roode.
Yeah.
And Kurt Angle.
No, you got to go Jeff Jarrett, man. Come on.
No, I don't have to go Jeff Jarrett. Get out of here with that. For New Japan, Okada, Tanahashi,
man. What about the founder of the company?
Yeah, Antonio Inoki, I suppose. Yeah, for sure. And then Jushin Thunder Liger.
Oh crap! I didn't put him on mine. Okay, no, that's a good one. So I'll just go next. I'll say New Japan. I got Great Muta, Antonio Inoki, Okada, and then I'll go ahead and put Liger on there. I had Hashimoto on there, but I'll put Liger on there. TNA, I've got Jeff Jarrett. Ain't he great? AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode. And the NWA, I've got Ric Flair, Dusty, Lou Thez, and Harley Race. And then in the ECW, I've got Terry Funk, RVD, Tommy Dreamer, and Raven. Brian, who do you have?
All right. From ECW, I have Dreamer, Rob Van Dam. I have Sabu, and I have Sandman. Those are my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
NWA, I'm with you. Thez, Flair, Race, and Dusty.
Yeah.
TNA, I went a little different. I went Jarrett and Styles. I also went Sting and Angle because if it weren't for those two guys, then I think TNA would have had a harder time getting legitimacy, especially in those early years. For New Japan, I didn't really have anything written down because I don't know enough about their history. I didn't just want to go Inoki and these 3 modern guys I know. So it'd be like Inoki and Okada. But the way you guys explain it, Muta and Liger would probably be my 2 other two as well.
Yeah, I just looked up the like longest reigns.
Yeah.
so it's like, okay,
The
well,
old
Muta had a
Wikipedia
long
method,
one.
yes.
Exactly, yeah. Thanks, Sportster. So so yeah. Anyways, Brian, thanks so much for joining us for Matt Chat, man. This was a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun than it usually is with me and Larson just sitting here, like, mumbling to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for having me.
And then, of course, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, one of these days you and I are have to collaborate again. I feel so bad because there's been so many times where I ask you guys to help me with stuff, and then like when you guys ask me to help you, like, hey, I gotta go. Like the Vegas thing, I didn't get a chance to work anything with you guys.
Oh yeah,
trivia on mine.
It all worked out.
Glad to be able to do this, and since we do live relatively close to each other in the country, we can maybe hopefully do some more in-person collabs.
Definitely,
that'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Yeah, but if y'all who are watching want to find me, I'm at Wrestling with Regret on YouTube, and then there's Twitter, Z-Man Brian Zane, Instagram at Brian Zane, and then there's Facebook.com/Wrestling with Regret.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thanks to all the patrons out there. If you want to submit your question for next month's Matt Chat, you can do so. It's at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. It's a $20 a month tier to submit your question. You also get the Friendo Care Package, which includes, here it is. You got the Steve and Larson Going In Raw comic book. It's a full color adventure where we like do a bunch of weird shit. There's like space and stuff. Hey, look, it's like the eye for an eye match.
Yeah,
look.
Really, it's a giant eye in there. It's a story that can only be told the page of the comic book. It costs way too much money.
You got a bunch of other crap
that
too.
To a major motion picture. Yes, totally.
So thanks once again for watching. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.